YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we lived in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
The U.S. and Israel have launched strikes and a major military operation targeting Iran. U.S. officials have told NBC News that these strikes are significant and could last several days. The U.S. is calling the operation, quote, epic fury. Footage of Tehran's skyline showing plumes of smoke rising in the air on your screen right now. Officials tell NBC News that the U.S. is attacking from air and sea, and that includes with a large array of fighter jets targeting military and security targets in Iran. U.S. officials are also telling our team that the U.S. is firing Tomahawk missiles from Navy ships into Iran as part of this operation. Now, overnight, President Trump said major combat operations have begun, adding that the U.S. military action there is massive and ongoing. The Office of Israel's defense minister is calling the strikes preemptive, declaring a special state of emergency, with Israel saying that Iran's retaliation has already begun with a barrage of missiles heading toward Israel. President Trump delivered these remarks just hours ago. Here is a portion of what he said.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I apologize for the scratchy voice. I am, once again, under the weather and have lost my voice for the 1,000th time so far in 2026, and we're barely even into March yet. But I need to cover Operation Fury, and I know a lot of people have obviously seen a lot of the conflict in the Middle East, and we can call Operation Epic Fury what it really is, which is the greater Israel expansion project, which the Israeli government, or should I say the Israeli military state, has been hell-bent on creating for a long period of time. And of course, they're using their sidekick here, the United States of America, to obviously usher this in. And we know obviously Israel and the United States work hand in hand, but there's so many Christians who are so easily deceived. All they need to hear is the word Israel, and they interpret that as God's chosen people. I mean, I'm wondering if these people could see a gang up the street who calls themselves the Gang of Israel, and they would say, hey, that's the Gang of Israel. That's God's chosen gang. They can murder, they can rape, they can rob and do as they please because they've called themselves Israel, because that's exactly what we're dealing with here. And of course, I'm referencing everything with Israel, the greater Israel expansion, the Balfour Declaration, the synagogue of Satan, and the Zionist agenda, all things that everybody out there who has followed my channel does understand, but most Christians out there don't. And of course, a lot of Christians immediately hear this, put a wall up, turn the video off, or suddenly want to write something in the comment section because they don't interpret the state of Israel for what it truly is. And we're going to break all of this stuff down in this video. But you've probably heard these things before and said it's not a big deal. Okay, there's some fireworks going on in Iran. We've heard this time and time again over the last couple of years specifically. But just keep an eye out on the Dome of the Rock, because if it is destroyed during one of these conflicts, whether it's this one or another one in a couple weeks or a couple months down the line, then we know it has begun. Because once that Dome of the Rock is destroyed, and it will be during one of these conflicts, they will begin obviously ushering in the third temple. And again, whether you're Christian and a follower of Christ or not, or you're somebody who believes they're simulating out Scripture, it's important to pay attention to it one way or the other, because there are people who believe that they are trying to obviously carry out Scripture, mimic Scripture, that they're using the Bible as a blueprint to deceive Christians into thinking the things that they're doing in some way are biblical prophecy. And we see a lot of deceptions obviously going on surrounding Donald Trump. So let's just understand this for what it is. We are seeing them ignite a holy war. And they have obviously brainwashed Christians over the last 4, 5, 6 years now into politically aligning themselves. People are going to church on Sundays, and instead of just reading the Bible, which is what they should be doing, they're actually bringing in political world events into the church. They're talking about Democrats and Republicans and trans in school and the state of Israel and MAGA. And this is what they want. This is why they have been baiting Christians for years, because they want to ignite a holy war and bring in World War III and the ushering of a new world order. And Donald Trump is the perfect character. I've talked about this before. In Israel, they compare Donald Trump to Cyrus the Great. That's right, Cyrus the Great. The only difference is that Cyrus the Great was chosen by God and Donald Trump was chosen by gullible, uninformed, easily manipulated Christians who actually believe that God intervened in his government-created assassination attempts, which did nothing but obviously create a deeper psychosis, because these people believed what they saw on television, which they had to do on TV. They had to show you it so that you could see it, just like they did with Charlie Kirk. They want you to see these psyops because it makes it almost impossible to crack the code in your mind of realizing that these events are simulations, that they actually carry these out. These are black ops events. So they wanted you to see Donald Trump almost get assassinated, get shot in the ear, pump his fist in the air, and since then the psychosis has gotten deeper than ever before. And they immediately started hitting all the Christians out there with divine intervention, that Donald Trump was chosen by God to take down the New World Order, when in fact he is bringing in the New World Order and the AI governance infrastructure, with all the stuff you see going on right now with AI, even these stories about how some of these AI companies who don't want to take down any barriers, who want to have some protections in place, how Donald Trump's government wants no protections in place, because, of course, what they're going to build out here is the real AI governance infrastructure. And a lot of that will be based upon you questioning Israel, you speaking against the state of Israel. This will obviously have you imprisoned in the future. So in Israel, they even have coins with Donald Trump and Cyrus the Great. I mean, the deception runs deep. You could see people posting on social media. Thank you very much, President Trump. You are the concurrent Cyrus the Great of the world. We are grateful to you and all Americans. God bless American soldiers. Long live America. I mean, this is the psychosis that we are obviously living in. But if you understand that Israel and modern Zionism are not the same thing, biblical Israel, which is obviously interpreted many different ways, but it's really those saved through the blood of Christ, is biblical current Israel, not the physical Israel. But modern day Israel is modern Zionism, which was created by the Rothschild family through the Balfour Declaration. Okay? It's a money laundering military state. This was created during World War II through the Balfour Declaration, where you could see even in the verbatim that it was written to Lord Rothschild. That's right, the Rothschild family, who was at the top of the pyramid of the New World Order, the same Rothschilds who created and controlled the Federal Reserve. They're the ones behind the Balfour Declaration, which gave them and the Rothschild bloodline the land of Israel, and for quote unquote the state of Jewish Zionism aspirations, which have been submitted to and approved by the cabinet. The Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. And of course, this has nothing to do with the true Jewish people. This is obviously a deception to protect this military industrial complex from criticism. It's amazing that people aren't suspicious that there's one group of people that you can't question. You could read their books and literally read about pedophilia being allowed for rabbis and things along those lines. And if you question that, you're a anti-Semitic, you're a horrible person, you should be thrown in jail. It's pretty amazing that they can get away with all these things, but obviously they've created this thing, anti-Semitism, in people's minds, so that people obviously will spew that right back at you if you say anything. Like if you go out in public and say, hey, do you know in these books they teach this, they teach that, they refer to us as goyim, they talk about being allowed to murder and rape and promote pedophilia. And they go, oh my goodness. And you even tell Christians how even some of their books like the Talmud talk about Jesus burning in hell, rolling around in fecal matter, and they still don't want to hear it, and they call you anti-Semitic. So that's how programmed they have become, and obviously we know how deep the MK Ultra is. So the State of Israel was established in 1948. Obviously, most of you already know that. And this was with the help of President Harry S. Truman, most known for being president, but most known around here for being obviously a 33rd degree Freemason, who is on the record as saying, although I hold the highest civil honor in the world, which was being president of the United States, I've always regarded my rank and title as a past Grand Master of Masons, the greatest honor that had ever come to me. So he is more happy and honored with his role in Freemasonry as a past Grand Master Mason, more so than being the president, of course. We all know he was selected as president, as all of them actually are. And let's get into the Greater Israel, because this has been the plan for a long time. This is the expansion of Israel, which is why you hear about all the conflict in the Middle East with Iraq, Iran, Syria. This is about Israel expanding and growing. And this is a map that they openly show you. This is not make-believe. This is not from a conspiracy book. They've even gotten so brash that Netanyahu, in front of a television camera, has held the map up saying, look, this is the new Middle East, okay? This is all going to be Israel here in green. And then even held up a map showing the curse, Iraq, Iran, Syria. The curse is at the United Nations, of course, where we might as well call the United Nations what it is, which is the New World Order, the meeting of the New World Order, which Donald Trump often attends, of course, and has to put on a little performance to make it seem like he's not one of them. This is that easy to fool the sheeple, but he calls these people here, Syria, the people who are occupying the land of Syria, Iraq, and Iran, the curse. And of course, then just continues to go on about, hey, we're going to kill them all. And we're going to take the land and we're going to expand the Greater Israel. We're going to move Israel and build it out. This is going to be the Greater Israel, which has been the plan since the Balfour Declaration has been in place. It's even on the IDF soldiers. They wear it on their sleeves. Okay, you can see it right there, the map. That is not a map of Israel. That is a map that includes the Greater Israel expansion, which includes Iran and all these other locations that I mentioned. It is Israel's promised land written on the badge of the IDF, again, with the Greater Israel expansion being as clear as day in that map. Now, the other thing is the Dome of the Rock. So for those of you who don't know, the third temple being built. I know there's people out there that say, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. We have so many Christians that just fight about their interpretation. We hear this day in and day out, right? I do not get involved in that. I do not listen to videos on that stuff. I have no interest. It's just more infighting, which is what they want, about how, okay, one church depicts the rapture, one person does this, are we in post-trib, pre-trib? It goes on and on and on, and it just never ends, and you're just, you just end up getting frustrated and saying, well, who's right and who's wrong? And the reality is that those of us saved by the blood of Christ are right. And all these other things are just debates that really, at the end of the day, if you want to have them, you can. I don't, personally, okay? But people debate about the third temple being physical or if it's just spiritual, right? But there's many biblical verses like Matthew chapter 24, verse 15, where it is said, Jesus says, quote, so when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. We know in even 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 4, that Paul describes the man of lawlessness, okay, sitting in the temple of God. But one way or the other, this is about the destruction with it's about the Greater Israel expansion and the destruction of the Dome of the Rock. Whether they come out and they say, oops, we accidentally destroyed the Dome of the Rock. It's about building the third temple. And even this sleazebag, Pete Hegseth, or however you say this guy's name, another one of these used car salesmen that they put in these positions that one side loves, one side hates. It's incredible the idol worship that we're seeing with politicians when it comes to the MAGA crowd And the Democrat crowd, especially the MAGA crowd, which are supposed to be Christians who worship Donald Trump, they worship Pete Hegseth. He's sitting here literally talking about how it'll be a miracle. It's one way or the other if they could rebuild the third temple. So in other words, it's going to be a miracle when they rebuild the third temple and usher in the Antichrist and Christians are deceived and end up worshiping him. Listen to Pete.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle. And there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible. I don't know how it would happen. You don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen. That's all I know.
So those are really the goals here and everything that you're seeing. The Greater Israel expansion and the destruction of the Dome of the Rock to build the third temple. And of course, if we see the third temple, and I believe we will, I believe this is going to happen very soon with the Dome of the Rock. I've talked about this going back to that October false flag where Israel pretended they were attacked somehow, some way, okay, the Iron Dome was penetrated, right? They were like, oh man, well, they're under attack. And you just go, well, what about the Iron Dome? I thought nobody could attack Israel. Oh, well, they creeped through a fence and this systems were, they were conveniently down, right? Just like when you hear on a true crime story. Oh, okay, a wife was murdered, but the house had surveillance cameras. But, the cameras just conveniently went out from 2 to 4. Well, immediately you go, oh, well, that's probably because the husband killed the wife and turned the cameras off, right? How convenient for Israel that, all that stuff happened with the unpenetratable Iron Dome. And, of course, we have our Golden Dome being built out in America, which is really our surveillance grid that they're pretending is going to be some type of missile protection ordeal that's going to cover the whole U.S. It's amazing how easily deceived people are. But again, all they have to hear is the word Israel. They don't do any deep dive in, okay, who is Israel, right? Israel's God's chosen people, right? Because they go to their 501c3 churches and the preacher just goes, don't question Israel. They're God's chosen people. And if you stood up and you said, hey, but how come it is in the teachings of this book that they read at the temple, it talks about Jesus in hell, boiling in feces, and it talks about raping kids. The preacher would say, sit down. I don't know about that, but that sounds anti-Semitic. That doesn't sound Christian-like at all. That doesn't sound loving enough of Israel. Goodness gracious, leave the church, right? And that's why they're 501c3 churches. That's why they don't pay taxes or tax exempt, because they brainwash Christians into thinking that the physical state of Israel, which was created in 1948, is biblical Israel. And they're not. And Christians get easily offended by it because they don't deep dive. All I tell them is, look, you can hear me talk. You say, I don't like the sound of this guy's voice. Even though the people tell me I'm yelling, this is how I speak, this is how I talk. Even though people are intimidated by it. They go, I don't like that guy, fine. You don't have to like me. Just research yourself. The Balfour Declaration, okay? The state of Israel, what it is, what it was created for. Think about that. Industrial complex that you can't question. An industrial complex that go to wage war on anyone they want, and you can't question it. If you do, you're considered anti-Semitic, and everybody around you will point at you and call you anti-Semitic. And if you speak this way in front of people and try to explain it, they'll go home and they'll be like, yeah, he doesn't like the Jewish, he's anti-Semitic. It's not about liking a certain group of people. It's a group of people who claim they're something that they're not. It's right there in Scripture, right? Let's read it together, shall we? It is a book that's rarely read in churches, right, or wherever you go to, okay? We know that nobody reads the book of Revelation, rarely. I'm sure some of you attend churches that do because you're, awake and aware. But most, right, they don't go into it. And this specific verse is never read. And it's an important one. Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That verse right there is very easy to interpret. You cannot dismiss the verse because you say to yourself, I don't want to believe. You can't pick and choose what verses in the Bible, you want to go by. You're supposed to go by all of it. Doesn't mean if you're, a serial killer that you're like, I'm going to ignore the one about killing because I like to do it. It's fun, right? I ignore that one. Or you're an adulterer, I ignore that one, right? You're supposed to go by all of it. And you're supposed to take all of it literally, right? And this verse couldn't be clearer if you understand the state of Israel now, the modern state. This is the verse to tell people about. Again, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So people who are claiming to be something they're not. The Balfour Declaration, the establishment of the state of Israel in 1948, and where we are now, and people you're not allowed to question or say anything about, and then you realize all this stuff we see with and hear about in regards to children being molested, pedophilia, everything else, you start realizing the synagogue of Satan and Aleister Crowley and the teachings that they follow in the occult that have to do with child sacrifice, and how convenient a lot of their books have the same type of teachings in it, because it's hand in hand, but it's protected under a veil, and it's a veil of deception. So we have this Operation Fury underway. It could end up being a nothing burger, right? It could just end up being fireworks for a couple days, because a lot of times they like to just continually build up, right? We're seeing a lot of this activity too, it seems like, occur on weekends more so now. But a lot of times, it might just build up and then fade. And it's incredible how many times we've heard Trump say he's already brought peace to the Middle East, he brought peace here, and it's just like the conflict continues. But wait for the destruction of the Dome of the Rock. Because if you hear all of a sudden the Dome of the Rock has been destroyed, and America comes out, they go, oh, we didn't mean to do it. Or the other side, oh, we didn't mean to. Oh, this is just going on. It was conveniently just destroyed. Then you know that we are getting closer. That's the beginning. That's the first big thing. Not just with the greater Israel expansion, but the third temple being built and the ushering in of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It's going to happen. It's likely going to happen in our lifetime that the Dome of the Rock is destroyed. When you hear that on the news, go ding, ding, ding. Uh-oh. All right. Now it's going to begin to happen. And you heard Pete Hegseth himself even say it would be a miracle to build that third temple. And Christians will be deceived and not even realize that they're worshiping the Antichrist himself. Wouldn't be surprised that gets built, and Donald Trump is sitting on that throne inside of that temple, the modern day Cyrus the Great, according to the deceivers out there. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you as always and your families.